Hey everybody, it's Esper here. This is something I've been wanting to do for quite a while now, an honest review of Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. I know a lot of you have seen my earlier video where I'm comparing the differences between 3.5 and 4th edition by showing the barbarian, wizard, sorcerer, and the rogue as these goofy, obnoxious characters.
Basic attack.
Magic missile.
The same as me.
I never intended that to be any sort of proper examination. It was really just made for one reason: to be a smart ass. Now you might ask, what's taking you so long if you think you run such a good channel there, buddy? Well, you see, it never seemed appropriate for me to write a review when the edition was so new. Everybody acted like they had everything figured out, but in reality, we were all inexperienced. It's like meeting a girl for the first time, and after one date, thinking you know the full extent of the many facets of her personality in your relationship. Come on, it takes time to learn that she habitually picks up other guys on the side, and that when she doesn't wear makeup she looks like an orangutan. I've been heavily involved with D&D 4th edition since its release. I've spent countless hours DMing, playing characters, reading the books, speaking with others, reading the updates. Buying miniatures, designing homemade content, writing articles for my Examiner page, and running this YouTube channel. This has given me a lot of time to explore the game in depth and really reflect upon its mechanics, thematic styles, and nuances. But before I get into all this, I gotta take a step back. My cred. Now, I don't have all the credentials in the world when it comes to D&D, but I got a lot. I've never played the first or the second editions of the game. I have read through some of the player's handbooks, monster manuals, and modules of those earlier editions, enough to know that that stuff is out of date. Now, I understand if you like those editions, maybe even they have a special place in your heart. That's fine, don't let me rain on your parade. But from a strictly design point of view, they're archaic. So I started with 3rd edition. At first I was a player for a few different DMs. I got to really understand how the game was played and the basic rules behind it. I picked up quick. Heck, I've always been a gamer ever since I picked up an NES controller back in 1986. My favorite character from those days was my elf druid, Vesic. I learned how to effectively prepare spells, figure ability modifiers and skill points, advance my animal companion when I leveled up, and most of all, get into my character. Actually, getting into the character didn't take much effort. I've always been an immersion gamer. Before long, I was DMing. It came so naturally to me, as I've always written and drawn and made up stories and characters. Plus, I've always had an interest in real-world ancient cultures and mythology. Eventually, I went on to make my own campaign setting of 3.5 called Legendscape, which was basically a heavy mod of 3.5. There were a number of things I found flawed in D&D 3.5, so I, like so many others, sought to fix them, aka the house rule. I ran several campaigns from 2004 to 2008, DMing twice a week at least, sometimes even 3. The majority of campaigns stretched for many months and many levels, always beginning at level 1. I referenced lots of 3.5 books. Some of my favorites are Libris Mortis, Stormrack, Sandstorm, Oriental Adventures, Heroes of Horror, Cityscape, Complete Mage, Complete Scoundrel, Drow of the Underdark, Dungeonscape, Spell Compendium, Magic Item Compendium, and both of the Fiendish Codexes. As well, I subscribed to Dungeon Magazine and ran several of the fantastic adventures published by Paizo. To this day, I've always wanted to run the Savage Tide campaign. I loved 3.5. It was a great system, the likes of which I had never seen. It was a tool set that allowed me to create a fantasy world and epic adventures. But as the campaigns and the months went along, began to notice more and more things that I wished were designed different, or I felt were just outdated. Everybody uses the same stuff. In the back of the 3.5 Player's Handbook, there's a large chapter devoted to spells. There are all sorts of spells that do all kinds of things. For the most part, these are the spells that everyone and everything will use. All the classes and all the monsters will reference this same chapter. The wizard and the sorcerer have the exact same spell list all the way. Then there's the bard. It draws from the same list, but doesn't get as many spells. Then there are tons of monsters that have the same spells as well. All the dragons do, hags do, fae have lots of the enchantment and illusion spells. Outsiders have tons of the spells. Pretty much all demons and devils use these spells, including the fact that they can cast Greater Teleport as a standard action without provoking opportunity attacks. This always confused me, because it seemed like that any demon or devil, when it was about to get killed by adventurers, would just teleport to the other side of the world. Heck, even the challenge rating 5 bearded devil has Greater Teleport at will. Who thought that that was a good idea? Every 6 seconds, the bearded devil could just be appearing anywhere he wants. Poof! I'm at the village market, stabbing your grandma. Poof! I'm at the dragon's lair, stealing this treasure. Poof! I'm in your bedroom, peeing on the floor. Poof! I'm in a magic shop, drinking the potions that cure serious wounds. Poof! I'm back in the dungeon, getting ready to ambush you. Druids, clerics, and paladins tap mostly the same list of divine spells, with lots of monsters using those as well. Everybody's just stepping on everybody else's toes. And this really just serves to illustrate a much greater point, that in 3.5, everybody, characters, NPCs, and monsters alike, all use the exact same rules. The designers seemingly never considered that there should be different rules for player characters than the NPCs and monsters, so that they can focus on filling the role in the game that they're supposed to fill, instead of trying to warp around a one-size-fits-all framework of mechanics. I'm coming for you, XP! I remember the first time my character got killed in 3.5, and the DM explained that when Raise Dead was cast on me, I lost a level. Can I get it back somehow? No. Can't I just take a penalty for a while? Or suffer some XP debt? No! Your level is gone, and you can't get it back! Try playing a spellcaster whose familiar gets killed. Listen to this. If the familiar dies or is dismissed by the sorcerer must attempt a DC 15 Fortitude saving throw. Failure means that he loses 200 experience points per sorcerer level. Success reduces the loss to 1/2 that amount. A slain or dismissed familiar cannot be replaced for a year and a day. I'm not making this up. How about negative levels? Yes, certain monster attacks and certain spells give negative levels. Check this out. Negative levels remain until 24 hours have passed, or until they're removed by the party's cleric, who without, you would have never survived any of this, because they are the only class that can really heal and remove character crippling conditions. If a negative level is not removed before 24 hours have passed, the affected character must attempt a fortitude save. On a success, the negative level goes away with no harm. On a failure, the negative level goes away, but the character's level is reduced by 1. Also, you have to expend your experience points to make magic items. That's right. The things which are supposed to advance your character actually regress him to create. And just try deciphering the magic item creation rules. Seriously, I dare you. Pull out your 3.5 Dungeon Master Guides. Better yet, I'll just put a link in the underbar to the 3.5 system reference documents. Spellcaster classes are interesting and powerful. Non-magic classes aren't. The Wizard or Sorcerer. At mid to high levels, you will become extremely powerful with your wide array of spells. The Druid or Necromancer. This effectively lets you play multiple characters as one, plus extreme spell power, plus awesome class features. The Cleric. You do everything. You wear plate armor and a shield, you fight in melee, you can cast awesome spells, you use domain powers, you turn undead, you have 2 good saving throws, and you heal the pants off of everybody and bring people back to life. An adventuring party has to have you. Characters' lives hinge on the fact of whether or not they are within the touch range of your healing spells. Pretty much every other class. You will make basic weapon attacks your entire adventuring career. If you are anything other than a player who's still learning the game, you are going to multi-class. You will never, ever play a single class fighter. If you have any hope of being anywhere near as badass as the spellcasters, you are going to play a half-dragon minotaur fighter barbarian ranger. I really could go on, but I just wanted to let you know that I have a solid understanding of the design of previous editions and some of the legitimate criticisms I have of it. The dawn of a new era! So in a storm of excitement, anticipation, and controversy, 4th edition was released in June of 2008. The game had a fresh design philosophy, a fresh look, and a fresh marketing strategy. It was the D&D of the modern times. Gone were the days of open source core rules, third-party print magazine publishers, and free web content on a quaint little website. This was the age of blogging, loyalty programs, subscriber-based web content, consolidated and progressive business strategy, fierce online competition, and beta testing. Oh, and digital fantasy art. People complained that they didn't like how things were changing, that D&D felt too different. But if you think about it, how could you not see this coming? Aside from the fact that everything always changes. Always. D&D has always evolved too. And if you look at its history, it's the times when it went through the least change that it grew stale or weak, or the company almost went out of business. It's kind of like natural selection. The organisms that are the most adaptable are most typically the ones that are successful and tend to survive. It really takes a narrow point of view to think that things should just stay the same, and that consistency is such a really good thing. So, unless you've been a troglodyte living in a cave, you know that the world and our culture is fast-moving and always changing, getting better and more sophisticated, ideally. And gaming, just like music, literature, and art, is a big part of our culture.